welcome to the first episode of Sports Weekly. I'm Dylan Staggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And we'll be bringing you all the sports this week, some college football and basketball, and obviously some professional football and basketball, and along with some Guerin Catholic Sports at the end.
Yeah, this is no sports sermon, but it's close. We're throwing some Guerin sports in there, and it'll be a fun ride.
All right, so let's start off with some college football. The new rankings just came out. Alabama at number 1 after Georgia's loss. Jason, who is your top 4 and your first 2 out?
I think Alabama's got to be the obvious number 1. You look at them getting the close win last week against Mississippi State. They're the definite number 1, no real debate there. 2 through 4 is where the debate really comes for me. I like Clemson. I think Clemson is the best defense in the nation, and Kelly Bryant is one of the top quarterbacks. So with that, I have Clemson at number 2. At number 3 is where it's between Oklahoma and Miami. I'm going to give the slight edge to Oklahoma just because of their big win against Ohio State. Ohio State now looking like a better team we haven't seen with a huge, I don't even know the right word, beat down on Michigan State 48-3 last weekend. I'm giving love to Oklahoma at number 3, and then number 4 rounding it out is Miami with the huge win over Notre Dame, sinking a lot of fans that are probably watching this, especially Zach Munson. All of you guys, Notre Dame fans, you got to start praying because I think your college football playoff hopes are down the drain.
All right, I'm going to, again, go with Alabama at number 1, but my number 2 is going to be Oklahoma. They've been on fire recently, beating Oklahoma State and beating down TCU last weekend. At number 3, I'm going to go with Miami. They're still undefeated and had a very impressive victory against Notre Dame. Number 4, Clemson. They've beat the most ranked teams out of the top 4, but they did have the rough loss against Syracuse. And my first 2 out are going to be Wisconsin at number 5. They still have an undefeated record, and they'll get a chance to prove themselves this weekend against Michigan. And number 6, Auburn, after their beatdown on Georgia at home.
So I've got to ask, you have Clemson all the way down at number 4, yet you said they have the most ranked wins. What's your logic there with putting Clemson at number 4?
Well, they haven't had very many impressive ranked wins, especially with their loss against Syracuse and Florida State, a team that has kind of gone down the drain this season, almost beat them last weekend. So I think Clemson is kind of struggling to beat on some not very good teams, but they still have the most ranked wins. So I think they're still in there. It really is just going to come down to the ACC championship between Miami and Clemson.
Yeah, I think we got to talk about Notre Dame, though. I mean, a lot of people going to watch this are going to be Notre Dame fans because obviously we're located in Indiana. Does Notre Dame have a shot? And if they have a shot, what has to happen in order for Notre Dame to get back in the playoff?
I really don't think so because it's either going to be Alabama, Georgia, or Auburn getting into the playoff from the SEC, either Miami or Clemson. I think both of those would probably get in over Notre Dame. Wisconsin still has a chance, and even I would put Ohio State in over Notre Dame right now if they are able to beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. So I think there's just too many teams in the way of Notre Dame, and since they don't have a conference championship to prove themselves, they won't be able to get in.
Yeah, I think you summed that up perfectly. I don't see a way that Notre Dame can get in the college football playoff unless for somehow everyone starts losing. But I think Notre Dame fans, it's over. Start getting excited for those New Year's Six Bowls because I think that's where you'll be. Let's move on to some college basketball. Tuesday night was a great night for some college hoops. Duke versus Michigan State, 1 versus 2, and then you had some Kansas and Kentucky, both games down to the wire. What did you see in both those games that you liked and what you didn't like?
Well, from Duke, we saw Grayson Allen completely go off 37 points against Michigan State, and very impressive. Marvin Bagley went out in the middle of the game with an eye injury, and Duke still able to beat Michigan State. Both of those teams looked amazing, though. And I think when you compare it to the second game between Kansas and Kentucky, I think Duke and Michigan State are by far the best 2 teams in the country.
Yeah, as you guys know, I'm a big Michigan State fan, but I got to say, Duke impressed me last night. You look at Grayson Allen being their leading scorer. They have 4 of the top guys as freshmen with Wendell Carter, Marvin Bagley, Gary Trent Jr., and Trayvon Duval. Those 4 are just such good athletes, but none of them led the team in scoring. You have Grayson Allen, the senior that not many people like, and trust me, I don't like him either, but he balled out last night. Looking at these teams, just comparing them, I think Duke is the best team in college basketball. But we've heard that a lot in the Coach K era. Oh, they're the best team. They're the best team. Do you think Duke's legit?
Yeah, I think they definitely are the best team as long as they can avoid injuries. I think those 4 freshmen that you mentioned, along with Grayson Allen, that kind of brings them all together and provides some leadership in that starting lineup. Being a senior, I think Duke is by far the best team in the country.
So then, if you look at Duke as number 1, then you've got to look at who's number 2. You've got Michigan State, led by Miles Bridges, the absolute superstar. And then Jaren Jackson had a phenomenal game last night. Is Michigan State still number 2? Did you see something from Kentucky, Kansas that you like them more than Michigan State? What are your thoughts there when you round out that top 4, top 5?
For me, just watching both games, Duke and Michigan State just both look like way better teams than Kentucky and Kansas right now. And I think Michigan State will get better as the season goes along. I think Duke just has a little more talent to put them at number 1, but Michigan State a close number 2.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about, a team we haven't mentioned because they didn't play last night in the big showcase, Arizona. They're a team to keep an eye on. Obviously, they're in the top 5, so they're getting recognized. But with Alonzo Trier, who is playing phenomenal, and then Emmanuel A. Cotton, a lot of these recruits that have been going to Arizona, I think they're a team that people really aren't talking about. They don't have the glitz and the glamour of these big schools. Watch out for Arizona. I think they've got some firepower.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on to some professional basketball now, the NBA. And obviously, it's been a couple of surprise teams out in the East to start the season. The Pistons and the Magic impressing some people.
Yeah, I think the team you didn't mention in the East are the Celtics. I mean, we expected them with Gordon Hayward to be good, but Gordon Hayward goes down in the first 6 minutes. But who is Kyrie Irving, and where has he been all the time? Yes, we know he's a star, but he is completely changing this team. Kyrie Irving getting guys like Aaron Baines to come out and play well. Kyrie Irving and this Celtics team is hot. They're at 14 straight, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and who's going to stop them? They've got one good team up there in Boston.
Yeah, and the Cavs on the other side in the East, struggling a little bit, but finally starting to get some things together. LeBron and the guys are having a good time down in New York, but they ultimately get the victory down there, and now are back at 500 and are starting to get some things rolling. I think they'll be fine come playoff time, but a little bit of a early season struggle for them.
Oh, definitely. Let's move into the West, though. The West, it's what's been talked about all offseason. You've got guys like Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, all moving to the West. The Thunder, they're not playing like we expected. You've got 3 stars. They're not sharing the ball well. The Rockets playing well without Chris Paul. What's going to happen when he comes in? The Warriors playing good like always. And then some teams we thought would play better. The Mavericks, who have won 2 games all year with rookie phenom Dennis Smith Jr. that everybody thought would transcend Dallas. I mean, what are your thoughts on the West?
I think right now the top 2 teams by far are the Warriors and the Rockets. Behind that, it's a bunch of teams just trying to catch up to them. The Rockets playing amazing without Chris Paul. I can't wait to see what they do when he gets back. And the Warriors, as always, with only a couple losses this season, have been fantastic.
Yeah, the Warriors are my NBA Finals pick. There's not a team that's better than them. I don't think, but I know, Dylan, you liked the Cavs last year in the Finals. Do you think the Cavs can beat them again?
I don't think so. I think this year the Cavs are just too old, and the Warriors will be able to easily come in, and they'll be ready come playoff time. The Cavs, I think, are just a little bit too old, and in the playoffs they'll wear down a little bit.
We got to talk about the matchup that happened on Wednesday, Lakers versus Sixers. Markelle Fultz not playing. Lonzo Ball did play. What are your thoughts on the 2 rookies?
I think that right now Markelle Fultz still has the opportunity to become better than Lonzo Ball. Obviously, both of these teams, very young, both have bright futures, but Markelle Fultz right now struggling with some injuries. Lonzo's had some up and down games, but right now I think they'll both be good in the NBA.
I agree with all of that, but the first part. You said Markelle Fultz can be better than Lonzo Ball. There is no way that's happening. I don't see it happening. No way. Lonzo Ball will be, if not the best rookie out of this draft class, top 3. Jason Tatum is the best one right now. There's no one else that I can say out of this draft class that will be a better pro than Lonzo Ball. I have watched every single Lakers game. Don't worry about his shooting. His shot will go in. We saw it last week. He makes his shots. I'm not worried about that. What makes him such a good player is the way he is. His mentality of passing is contagious. He gets the whole team involved, and we've seen it with the Lakers. The Lakers playing really good basketball right now and looking like a playoff team. I know it's weird to say with the Los Angeles Lakers being a playoff team these last few years, but they look good. Rookie standout Kyle Kuzma playing like nobody expected him to. Brooke Lopez, the Lakers are on fire, and the funny thing is win and losses don't matter. We just talked about LeBron, Paul George. Everybody's focused on next year. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, can they show enough star power potential to get LeBron, get Paul George to come into LA?
I think even once one of them do come to LA, I think they'll still be a couple years away. Those guys still very young, but the Lakers definitely have a bright future, especially if they get LeBron or Paul George.
If LeBron comes, are they the favorite to come out of the West?
No way. I think the Warriors are still miles ahead of them.
All right. Well, that's our NBA recap. I can promise you there will be lots of NBA debates as the season goes on. Lonzo Ball fan over here, not so big Lonzo Ball fan over here. So stay tuned for more NBA debates as the show rolls on. But let's get into some NFL. It's coming up in 2 days. A lot of big matchups that could really make or break some teams' season. You look at teams like the Cowboys who need a big win. Now Zeke's out, but who do they have? They've got the Eagles. The Eagles looking like the best team in football. I don't think there's a debate there. Let's look at the Raiders. They've struggled. People didn't expect that. They need a big win this week. Who do they have? Oh, the Patriots. There's a lot of teams who need those big wins but have tough matchups this weekend. Who do you think wins those matchups? And really, what are your thoughts on the NFL shaped out so far?
Well, so far, the NFC's been a big story. A lot of teams at the top, and a lot of them have some tough schedules coming down the stretch. The Eagles at 8-1, like you said, the Cowboys this week. That's a very tough matchup. The Vikings and the Saints, both at 7-2, both have some tough schedules coming down the stretch, and they've got to prove themselves. The Vikings with Case Keenum at quarterback, can he lead them to the playoffs? Will Teddy Bridgewater take over? There's a lot of questions to be sorted out in the NFC, and right now I think it's the Eagles that are really taking over.
Yeah, I think you really highlighted that part with the Vikings and Saints. Both teams, we expected to be good, but not this good. Case Keenum, where has he been all this time? I mean, he's been backup after backup and now gets to the Vikings and has looked like a vet that's been starting all his career. So Case Keenum playing phenomenal. And Drew Brees getting this offense. We knew they'd have offense, but their defense holding the Bills to such few points last week.
Yeah, the defense and the running game of the Saints is
Alvin Kamara,
insane.
Mark Ingram, that running game is on fire. They don't even have Adrian Peterson anymore. Go to the NFC West. You look at the Seahawks. I thought they were the best team in the NFC until last Thursday when they lost Richard Sherman. I'm not sure they make the playoffs, and I know that sounds like blasphemy these last few years, but the Rams, Jared Goff is playing like an MVP candidate. You've got the Cowboys and Eagles still battling. I'm not sure they get in. I think the Seahawks really have to hope that this defense can re-establish itself without Richard Sherman, because Richard Sherman was the heart and soul of that defense with Earl Thomas already being out.
Yeah, the Seahawks are definitely going to struggle down the stretch without Richard Sherman. This defense is not going to be near as good without him, and we'll have some trouble, especially when they face the Rams again. That's going to be an important matchup to see who gets in.
Yeah, 3 big games we're going to predict real fast. Eagles, Cowboys, who you got?
Eagles, the Cowboys looked awful last week, giving up 6 sacks to Adrian Claiborne and the Falcons. The Eagles, I think, get this matchup.
I also like the Eagles. I think the running game will not be able to hold up without Zeke. You highlighted the Falcons. Falcons versus Seahawks. Who you like?
I think the Falcons, like you said, the big loss of Richard Sherman. The Falcons looked like themselves last week. The team that made it to the Super Bowl last year against the Cowboys, I like them.
All right, and then Patriots and Raiders. It's technically a home game for Oakland, but it's in Mexico City. Who you like, Patriots or Raiders?
I think the Patriots right now, they've really got everything clicking in the AFC and have got everything under control.
I like the Raiders in that game. I know it's my team, but I also just feel like this is a Raiders game to win. Get back on track. Derek Carr might have a big game. But what would this be without going into some Guerin Catholic Sports? They're just starting up. The fall season just ended with a great run by the girls' soccer team. Your sister was on the team, and it was a great run. I can say it was the first time it got me to watch soccer. I got to watch these girls play, and it's been such a fun time. The football season, somewhat of a disappointing end of the season, but still, I mean, having the best record to start off in school history, great run for them. And then, I mean, let's talk about what's coming up. Guys basketball and girls basketball, really two sports that are looking to change course of what happened last year. The boys basketball team losing in the first round of sectionals, girls basketball trying to just really get as many wins as possible in that regular season to put themselves in a better position.
Yeah, girls basketball already underway. A lot of seniors this year in the senior class, so they're looking for a big year, along with freshman phenom Carly Wilson in the starting lineup already. The girls are getting things underway and hoping for a good season.
Yeah, star Sydney Geis. I went to a few other games last year, and she's the one that impressed me with Sydney Geis. She's got a shot, and with her, Danny Mason, Grace Hackett, Lexi Forder, Sophia Fernandez, I think those are the 5 seniors. Oh, and Carly Hammonds, I think that's the 6. Those 6 they've been there all 4 years, and they really have been a big part, whether on or off the court, big part of the team. And so I'm excited to watch those as they're in our grade, see how they finish out their Guerin Catholic career. But let's go into the guys' team. Lost on the devastating shot by Rico Duncan at the buzzer to Noblesville last year at Carmel High School. They're back. They don't have star point guard Matthew Godfrey as he's at DePauw now. So they're looking at Kean Sills and Clay Hepp to really take over that point guard role. How do you think the team does, and who's somebody you want to keep an eye on?
Well, I think the point guard kind of battle is what is going to be something that as a storyline as the season goes on. Clay Hepp, unfortunately, had his finger broken all of last season, so he didn't get to play. Kean Sills played a lot of shooting guard last season. Now he'll get some minutes at point guard. Really, it's just whoever's going to take over for Matthew Godfrey. Hopefully it'll be some point guard by committee where everyone shares the ball a little bit, and I'm really looking forward to see what Coach Smith does with that point guard position.
Yeah, I want to talk about 2 guys that probably won't start, but it'll be key reserves off the bench. Bernie McGinnis and Drew Thiem. If you look at their practice, I've been at every practice they've had so far, and Bernie McGinnis and Drew Thiem have both just looked like they are going to be in the perfect role coming off the bench. Bernie, he's really got a shot and just a hard worker. I was talking about it with Mitchell Page, who's now out at practice helping coach around and stuff. I was talking with him just how hard Bernie works and how he might not have the most skill, but the way he works is going to get him minutes. And it's looked productive so far, and they've scrimmaged and stuff. And then also Drew Thiem. He's big, and the whole team is big as we've got 2 guys under 6 foot, just Josh Osborne and Clay Hepp on the varsity roster. But Drew Thiem, 6'4", 6'5", and he was a tight end, so in football, he knows how to go get those rebounds. He also leads Guerin Catholic history for three-point percentage. He was 1 for 1 and 100%, so he's got the three-point shot cooking too.
Yeah, Drew Thiem, JV last year, got a few varsity minutes, and I think he'll really step up and get a big role this season. And Bernie McGinnis coming off the freshman team. We saw Jack Hansen do it from his freshman to sophomore year, so hopefully Bernie has a great year.
Yeah.
But speaking of Jack Hansen, him and Zach Munson coming back this season for their senior seasons. What do you expect from them this season?
I think you see Jack Hansen changing his number from 15 to 31. New number, new Jack. I think we're going to see him really take control of this team. I think with him, he has his outside shot, but now he can really work in the post. He's got a clear lane. Him and Munson, they've played together on their AAU team these last few years. They know how to play off each other, and with those 2 really being the stars of this team, I'm excited to see how they work out. And Zach Munson, he has really got his shot going. I was surprised to see it in the AAU. I was like, wow, I watched one of his games. He hit like 6 or 7 threes. So Munson's got that inside-outside game. I'm excited to see how 21 and 31 work together. I think they could be a really strong dynamic duo that leads his team far in the playoffs.
Yeah, Munson really came on towards the second half of last season, getting his shot a little bit. He struggled with his shot some, but like you said, this summer been working on it a lot. And obviously him and Jack Hansen have that great chemistry. I hope we see a lot of it on the court this season.
Yeah, Guerin Catholic starts tomorrow with a cathedral scrimmage at 10 a.m. It'll be a great one, so definitely go check it out as Guerin Catholic basketball gets rolling.
Yeah, and after Thanksgiving, the regular season games start, and make sure you catch every game if you cannot make it on the broadcast. GuerinCatholic.faithnetwork.com will be your guys on the call for every single game.
Of course. It'll be a fun year. It's our last year, Dylan, and this is the first Sports Weekly. How'd you think it went? I thought it went pretty well. We got to talk about everything and preview some basketball. Good first show?
Yeah, great time. Can't wait to do all of these every single week for these winter sports.
All right, so that'll do it for Sports Weekly. I'm Jason Gandhi.
I'm Dylan Staggy.
We'll see you next week.